Hello, good people, but now you know the deal. If the camera angle is off, it's not by design. I'm blind, and it comes with the territory.
Behind it.
So, the best podcasts, you should go check them out, are the ones that are done by right wingers, right? If you, as viewers, actually got your act together and went and checked out Charlie Kirk in terms of what he's doing with Turning Point, then you'll realize that these are the best podcasts. We have to say this, you know? I don't know why you are even watching this podcast or this video, but we'll call it a podcast because Charlie Kirk's show is undoubtedly the best. That's what I have to say. So it's been quite a while since we met and had a discussion about politics in South Africa. I'm deeply, deeply sorry. You know, things have been rather peculiar on my end. That said, the more things change, the more they stay the same. What has truly happened that has fundamentally changed your life since we last talked in terms of South African politics, apart from the same old gossip, grandstanding, and we move on to the next drama, because that's what we love. That's what they like producing for South Africans. Instead of the good laws, policies, and processes alleviating poverty, your politicians are in it for the antics. So, it is said that Helen Zille is now officially the mayoral candidate for Johannesburg, given her extraordinary track record as mayor of Cape Town. Why should Johannesburg not have her? Absolutely. And it was so fantastic to have her appointed because in the same week, just days before, they got a free promo from yours truly, the president of the African National Congress, Cyril Ramaphosa, the GNU cape wearing hero, right? He just stood up in front of ANC councillors praising them. And I'm amazed that people think that these are just incidents that are isolated. This is more than just a coincidence. Call me conspiracy theorist, but why would that happen? Why would it happen? And should we really think of it as benign, given that this is the same individual who was so eager to have the Democratic Alliance join the African National Congress in a grand coalition, which they then called the Government of National Unity, GNU. It shouldn't be, but there it is. It's reported as though it's something phenomenal. It's discussed, disgustingly so, as something that is exceptional. So let's look at Mr. Ramaphosa's track record, right? Is he not the man who is prone and forever leaning toward capitalist policies? He's a neoliberal by heart. So does it come as a surprise that he praises the Democratic Alliance when it comes to its governance in the Western Cape, particularly Cape Town and Stellenbosch? Wink, wink. I mean, honestly, good people, the amount of money that is in Cape Town, the disparities between rich and poor, and how poor people continue to be impoverished, it shouldn't be something that makes for grandstanding discussions at a political event and subsequent analysis where people think, should we really look at how great the DA's control or rule over Cape Town and Stellenbosch is? Nevertheless, this is the same man who, not so long ago, a few years, wrote a letter in which he accused the African National Congress of being accused number one in the dark when it comes to corruption. He outed his party without rhyme or reason, saying that they are the most corrupt individuals. And then he insisted that this party should go into bed with a racist Democratic Alliance prior to the elections. There was already speculation. Just because some of us don't and cannot disclose some of these things doesn't mean it was not planned for. Yes, I know that there's a video that has been doing the rounds for quite some time where Helen Zille has been talking about how they will strategically build an alliance with the ANC to destroy it from within. But also within ANC circles, it was planned for. But look at all the shenanigans of the Democratic Alliance in the lead up to the elections, the type of things that they were doing, right? Maligning the African National Congress, calling its potential partnership with the MK Party, Umkhonto weSizwe, as well as the Economic Freedom Fighters, the EFF, a doomsday coalition, right? They even burned the South African flag, but, it was not seen as any violation of democratic symbols. No. Through it all, they went into partnership. Right? So, Mr. Ramaphosa, whether outwardly or on the low, has been campaigning and sabotaging his own formation for as long as we can remember. Right? Look at his cabinet, the type of individuals he has there. So there's no analysis upon analysis upon analysis that's needed on this issue for us to determine whether, oh my gosh, was this an oopsie moment? No, indeed it was not, right? Especially considering that it's happening at the same time when they're trying to hype the debate of Helen Zille becoming mayor of Johannesburg, potentially the most lucrative city in South Africa. But there we have it, right? Apparently, the suburban folk and some abanye abazwayo basekasi, they're thinking, no, this is a worthwhile debate. Kumele sikhulume ngalogogo lo ukuthi ngempela uzoba yimeya, izinto zoba ngcono. Izinto bezingcono under apartheid. So surely things will become better right now if Mayor Helen Zille steps up. Transfuni Cape Town, eJozi. That's the sum total of the black intellect when it comes to politics in South Africa currently. And people will be saying, oh no, you can't speak like that. But it is. Right? It is. And people get played like a yo-yo. Up and down, up and down, up and down. Then, of course, Helen Zille tops it up with a very sassy interview on a local Johannesburg radio station with Anele, right? I mean, poor Anele, she really tried her level best, right? But the problem was that she's an entertainer, right? And I think people are missing that point, that ultimately that's what she is. She's not a political fundi. She's not an academic. And I'm not making this to belittle her or try to be condescending. I think she's good for the type of job that she does. Do I listen to the radio station? No. But Anele is, generally speaking, not bad, right? Like, she just does entertainment. That's her go-to. And then there she is doing an interview with a seasoned politician, right? Y'all know I've said on countless times about the prowess of Helen Zille's politicking. Like, truly speaking, in terms of South African politics, she's top 3, top 4, easily. Easily. She's an OG, right? She'll eat you up if you don't know what you're doing. And that's why she could be aggressive and nasty and mean towards Anele, because ultimately she doesn't view her as a worthy competitor. No one cares about the optics, because the funders of that radio station don't care about how belittling or how it looks like. That's why now you can have smaller yana pieces about Anele, how she dropped the ball. And that's pretty much the narrative. It's a wonder that the lady still has her job. But that thing was a disaster from the word go. But ultimately, the main reason why we had that interview, it was to kick off the campaign. Because it happened shortly after the announcement was made that Helen Zille is running for mayor of Johannesburg. So now the messaging has to be that. We need to be bombarded. And the only way Helen Zille can make it as mayor of Johannesburg, or at least have acceptance thereof on a general level, is through conditioning, manufacture consent, because she will be. What does Mr. Ramaphosa tell you? Bathanda, noma bathandi. Right? She will be. Because the discussion is so pathetic at the moment. It's about, kodwa nani ningahlanganisi indaba ze-basic service delivery nendaba zepolitiki. Right? That's what y'all are saying. There's politics and there's basic service delivery. Basic service delivery is politics. It is economics. It is ideology. There is a reason why white suburbia in Cape Town is in the condition and state that it's in. Do you think it's just merely, no, a government must provide water, and that's not ideological, must provide electricity, and that's not ideological, and must make sure that the roads are clean and functional, and that is not ideological? Then if that's the case, why was the 1913 Act about the land so important? Why was primogeniture so important? Why was 1948 apartheid law so important? This is why some of us just, take breaks from these platforms, because you ultimately just look at this and you're like, oh, gosh. So, remove yourself from this lunacy of basic service delivery not being politics. Especially ngoba nina abanye nihlala kuma-rented apartment. Siyazibuza nje ukuthi how much longer are you going to stay there? Yes, ungani, zobuya, ngizokhala. But thina mele sinyenze ama-analysis ukuthi the average black person who lives in suburbia, you need to understand that they earn approximately 25,000 rand. But because of situations, they do want an apartment that's about 15,000 rand. It leaves them about 10,000 rand. Yabo, soba umsebenzi wethu manje ukuthi yenze le nto leyo. So come on, guys. Come on. Sometimes you just got to wake up and see things for what they are. So expect that. I mean, Helen Zille is already doing her podcast rounds, and that whole cognitive dissonance. At the same time, she shows much appreciation, respect, and love for Mr. Ramaphosa. But, the ANC is so bad, And somehow, they're trying to make this narrative work. The question is, does it actually stick? I don't necessarily think so. But also just me being me, I've lamented this whole idea of voting as a solution to big problems, fundamental problems in society. It cannot be. We cannot allow hype to happen around elections, particularly local government elections. It cannot be. It's the same trickery, good people. Whether vote MK, EFF, Maibuye. Oh, I see that Africa Maibuye is now a political party. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Yes, so whether you vote for any of these parties, including your DAs, your FF Plus, and of course those gangsters, right? The PA. They're fine. There is no difference. And don't fall for this nonsense, because our political game needs to be upped. We need to think differently. Can't be played the same way you've been played over 30 years. That's not what the economy is about. The economy is not about voting. Life is not about just having a job where you'll wake up 4 o'clock in the morning, get on a taxi, clock in at 6 o'clock, clock out at 5 o'clock, and go back home and make food for your kids in a shack. And then you guys think that is life. Cannot be. Cannot be. There's a reason why there are wars around the world. There are reasons why people are trying to settle wars by gaining more. When you look at Russia, Ukraine, why we think that matter is still unresolved, right? Rare earth minerals are topical. Why? Because in terms of tech, as the world, that's where we're heading. And that's now becoming part of negotiations of settling wars. So these are the type of things that we ought to be discussing. What does it take to make a man and a woman live? And it's surely not the antics of a Figile Fopambalula, Mr. Ramaphosa, a Helen Zille as mayor, etc., etc. Cannot be. And then just moving ahead, I mean, I see that the convict party, the Patriotic Alliance, after the racist stunt, and of course Kenny Kunene having his encounter with law officials, and also subjecting himself to a resignation and some false investigation. Remember Gayton McKenzie? Yo, Kenny, I'm so disappointed in you, bruh. I've been with you for such a long time, bruh, but I have to do this. I can't believe you've disappointed me like this, bruh. Remember that whole acting nonsense that we were subjected to? But it's come to an end with Kenny, who Gayton McKenzie was quite certain of would be found innocent, right? Prior to the investigation being done, we were already told that he will be innocent. After his heart being so bra, But anyway, yes, he is indeed found innocent. But now, having resigned, he wants to go back into his position. And guess who's to the rescue with a cape? Mr. Ramaphosa. Now you got to ask yourself, why is Mr. Ramaphosa so intent on rescuing these gangsters? Why? Why? Could it be that Gayton McKenzie's declaration that they will definitely vote with the Democratic Alliance be part of the reason? Could people, his backers, Mr. Ramaphosa that is, nudge him from behind, telling him that, hey man, these boys, these lads are poor gangsters, just sort them out. Regardless of Gayton McKenzie making huge threats about leaving GNU, GPU, GLU. These are all the coalitions, of course. Not that Patriotic Alliance has any significant stake, but of course, it will have some type of ripple effect in some of these instances. But an entire president comes and rescues these individuals that have fumbled politically, but also just implicated in criminality. So much for the doomsday swart gevaar scenario, So makes you wonder, which criminals are worth salvaging? The MK-EFF criminals or the Patriotic Alliance criminals? Or the DA criminals? Interesting times. So the government of national unity, quote unquote, the grand coalition, will survive with its stepchild in tow. Massacres shall be there. And we will still be subjected to more racist rhetoric from him. That's Gayton McKenzie, of course. And all the while, we still have the criminal inquiry, or the commission, the inquiry looking into the criminal justice system. I shall not go on this point because I think it's something else to discuss on a different platform, another episode of TTBIA, hopefully, if things come together. But that's what we have, folks. Gossip, grandstanding. Not forgetting, of course, Ofaru, who's forever looking for attention, right? And of course, Ofaru. Whenever you feel like, cameras are going somewhere else, particularly Gayton McKenzie. No, he needs to make some statement. He's making a mess. I want the headlines on me too. Attention seeking. But that's always been his character, in his nature. That's how he's made it in politics. But interestingly enough, when it comes to Faru, in terms of his antics and his childish behavior, his churlish ways, is that I've noticed that gradually people are not really falling for his trickery anymore. Like, South Africans have finally reached a point where they have sussed him out. Yes, we can blame it on how the EFF is handling the foreign nationals issue, but I think it's more than that. I think society is Julius Malema, aka Ufaru, fatigued. They've reached Faru fatigue. Finally, right? And ultimately, that's why he's becoming more erratic in his ways. I don't think we have seen the worst of his behavior, but the best is still to come where that's concerned. Not only will he be attacking Mkhwanazi as he pleases, but I think, in time he will vie for the GNU position and hoping that he can make it into government. I mean, I've talked to people who kind of think that no, maybe Julius Malema just enjoys the attention, but he does not really want to be in government. I beg to differ. I've thought about it, but my belief still is that the man would actually appreciate a position before he retires in politics, because how much longer can you continue with these gimmicks, right? Stringing these kids from Limpopo along on this ride of him being a hero, but not a hero. It surely can't continue for much longer. So yes, he will still clown, have his pressers, making fun of opponents, drop files supposedly about some gossip, and in time we shall see. But yes, that is politics as we have it in South Africa. What are your thoughts? Do you agree or disagree?